I officially have a YouTube channel, I find myself sometimes seeing things I do through the lens of making a video. Like, if I want to watch more josei anime, the title of a video will pop in my mind. I watched every josei anime, so you don't have to. When I thought of getting back into Touhou, I had a devilish idea. So, sisters and sisters alike, follow me as I play through every mainline Touhou game. I'll be talking about the gameplay, the story, the development, and more, so stay tuned. Our estrogen-filled adventure starts at the PC-98. It's a bit shameful to say, but I've never actually run a PC-98 emulator before. But luckily, Moria Shrine makes everything streamlined. Moria Shrine is the one-stop shop for everything Touhou. So if you're interested in playing any of these games, go there. With all that said, let's start out with what Moria Shrine calls the retro era, the PC-98 games. First is Touhou 1, highly responsive to prayers. The story is pretty loose. I didn't see it anywhere in the game itself, but even if it did appear, I wouldn't be able to read it. Apparently the story is, the nameless shrine maiden we play as has had their shrine destroyed. To find who destroyed it, she goes to another world. The only way she can fight these, quite literally otherworldly monsters is to hobble around the yin-yang orb. First booted up the game, I was a bit surprised. You see, my experience with the series is mainly with 6, so I don't know much about the earlier titles. Stage 1 was a game of Breakout. Well, kind of. You need to hit this yin-yang ball into all the tiles. At first I was just shooting the ball, but then I learned some other moves. You can slide and kick the ball, or sit still and swing at the ball. Like any Touhou game, I wasn't that good at it, but the continue system is generous, letting less experienced players experience the game before getting good at it. It's actually really fun. If you take too long, then some bullets will hail down. It's pretty easy to avoid them, but they add some spice. Stage 5 is a boss fight, and this is more like the Touhou I know. You still bounce the ball around, but you have to hit the boss with it. It likes to move around in a slow-moving orb, but then it will sit still and shoot bullet patterns at you. I took it down pretty easily, but it was still very fun and engaging. You have to consider all your options when hitting the ball, whether to kick, swing, or shoot. While it may not be the hardest thing at the moment, it keeps you on your toes. If given the choice between the two options, and one of them is hell, I think we know which one I'm picking. The next few breakout stages ramped up a little in difficulty, but not that much. The real challenge was stage 10. It took me a little bit to beat this boss. This is the first boss with real bullet hell patterns, and the way the game expects you to move with its very simple movement is unrealistic, at least on your first way through. It doesn't help either that the movement is strictly left to right. You can't move up or down. This isn't a problem in the breakout stages, but it infringes on muscle memory to go through the typical bullet hell patterns without vertical movement. It's not a deal breaker. I see why the game restricts you, and I agree with the decision for the most part. It can just make it hard to thread the needle like you do in other Touhou games. Wait, you can shoot the bullets? Oh, I see. When it comes to this game, it's bad to play it like a normal bullet hell. You just have to take it by its own terms, you know? Throw out all your preconceptions and all that. That couldn't be more true than with stage 15. This boss starts out by shooting alternating rows of bullets in a circle. I tried to play it like I usually would with the breakout stages, or a normal bullet hell, but it had poor results. The strategy that worked for me was standing in a spot where my swing would hit the ball into the boss, while swinging bullets away when the ball wasn't near me. I'd have to keep an eye on where the ball is and anticipate where it would land so I could swing at it and hit it at the boss. The run I implemented that strategy, it worked first try. The next boss, however, I couldn't beat right away. I tried for a while, but it didn't work. I just don't have enough of a grasp on the movement or the moves to get far at all. All the other bosses in the game I figured out quickly, but this boss seemed impossible to hit most of the time. In defeat, I ended my run. Tomorrow, I tried again, but instead of picking Hell, I picked the other route. The stages were a bit easier, and the bosses were easier for me to beat. I don't know if it's because I'm more experienced now, but who cares? What I'm worried about is the boss of stage 20. I'd say it's a bit easier than the other stage 20 boss, but that's because it has a clear hitbox, that being the design on the angel's chest. The boss has phases, but they don't really progress in difficulty linearly. Phase 1 has a few attacks. The lasers are a crapshoot. I usually stay a little to the side and sit still hoping nothing hits me. You'd be surprised how well it works. The bullet trail is always easy. The only hard part is juggling the ball while doing it, so make sure you have some breathing room to slide or swing. The C is easy, just go underneath it. This phase is solely hard because of the lasers. The second phase is the hardest. The biggest challenge is juggling the ball so it doesn't run into you, in tandem with everything else. The bullets coming from the moon on top of the fast bullets that explode, which are the hardest. That or the barrage of bullets that you can easily slide under. That phase sucks. Get through it without getting hit and you're golden for the rest. Phase 3 shoots lasers at you like the first stage, but this one is slower and more predictable. Then it will do the same attack again, but with bullets raining, not too much harder. There's a chance they'll do a little circle thingy where bullets get shot out in a spiral with some lasers. The lasers are evenly spaced, so it's pretty easy to do. Phase 4. Stick in the middle at the start because bullets will come from the sides and you'll have to thread the needle through them. Then it'll start over their attack patterns at phase 1, then so on and so forth. It took me a few hours to beat this one. It was pretty rough. Then, with one hit point left, I got rid of all their health and beat them. Then it came back! There's a second phase. It doesn't nearly have as much health as the first one, thank God, but I didn't beat it first try. I need to rethink my strategy. If you've been watching my gameplay, you've probably noticed that I'm not shooting or using my bombs that much. I'm sure that'd make things a bit easier. Wow, that makes things a lot easier. The first time I implemented the shooting and the bombs, I got rid of their first health bar, which just before took me a few hours to do. It took a little bit after that to adapt fully to the new moves and integrate them into my strategy. At first I was too trigger happy with them, but I learned to do it skillfully. So, after 103 continues, 94 of them going to that boss fight, I finally beat Touhou, highly responsive to prayers. Well, kinda. We still have to beat the boss on the other route, and even if we did it like we did on this boss, we'd only get the bad ending. To get the good ending, you need to beat the whole game without continuing once. Seeing how I did here? Yeah, no, not today. This review is for people like me, who don't really have the constitution to grind out a 1-hour game for 100 hours. If you do, more power to you. You should make your own review on why you should do that, but I'll stick to just baby beating both routes. I restarted the game and wow, these levels are easy now. I really got a handle on the game that last fight. Stage 5, select Hell. Breeze through all the stages, bomb stage 10 balls. All the breakout stages can be cheesed easily with bombs, but that's only if you've got an unlimited amount of continues, like me. It's hard to say if it's harder than the other one. The Hell Route boss was hard, but not in the same way the other one was. The Angel felt like the attacks had a clear way of avoiding them, but the Sword Lady felt a lot more random. My best chance was just to use bombs to cheese my way through the attacks that had no way out. The Angel took me a few hours, but the Sword Woman only took me a few tries when I came back to it. And no second phase like the Angel. That's weird. With that, I've seen all the game this game has to offer. Unlike future entries in the series, completing the game without continuing does not give you an extra stage, so I've gone through everything. The art in the game is endlessly charming. For the PC-98, it's not as knock your socks off as other games with an anime aesthetic, but the art is super earnest. I couldn't confirm this rumor, but people say the creator Zune drew the art with a mouse. I don't know if that's true, but it wouldn't be very hard to believe. Some people like to make fun of the art, and that's a bit sad. I mean, number one, who am I to judge? But also, the art is what it is. You're only gonna get better at art by doing it. People can be bad at art. I'm not saying you have to like it, but it's no excuse to make fun of it. Besides, what it lacks in experience, it makes up for in creativity. To a Touhou fan, a lot of this stuff may seem like ordinary things, but this game's art direction is really out there in a way I'm a big fan of. The music, similarly, is pretty nice, but you probably already guessed that. I don't know jack shit about how music is made, so I'm not gonna talk about it too much. The music does indeed sound like it's coming from a PC-98. It can be a bit grating to listen to at higher volumes, but I think that goes for all music, I think. The music, art, and actual game were all made by one guy who goes by Zune. The game was apparently complete while he was still attending college in 1995. However, it was first shown off at a Tokyo University Festival in 1996, and later sold with Touhou 2, Story of Eastern Wonderland, at Comiket 52. It apparently sold 30 copies. Something about that puts my heart at ease, you know. I'm not gonna act like Touhou nowadays is the most underrated thing in the world. It most definitely isn't. I've just never seen people talk about the games like most video games. At least in the YouTube video game essay sphere, it's not a very popular subject for discussion, especially not Touhou 1. Something about this game really appeals to me. It's a really simple and unique game. It can't really be put on a pedestal for how great it is. It's just a nice work that clearly had a lot of passion put into it. You usually only see most artists' cream of the crop, but rarely do you see the works that don't have that wide of an appeal. On an artist's road of honing their ability to put exactly what's in their mind into reality, we make a lot of things that are almost like that, with every new iteration looking a little more like what you're thinking of. In years, an artist will look back at their old work and scoff, because it no longer has the illusion of looking like what's in their mind. But what about the outsider's point of view? What if someone lacked the biases of the artist's mind? Well, the earlier work, at least to me, ceases to be bad for that. With nothing to compare it to, the image is perfectly fine. Or it may be different because the viewer themselves has an image of what the work should look like. To me, Touhou 1 should just be taken by itself. If you compare it to other Touhou games, you're probably just gonna have a bad time with it. Some may think that automatically makes the game worse. It's cool if you want to think that, I just want to see games in the light most suited to them. For Touhou 1, that light isn't being the base for a massive 2.5 decade spanning cultural touchstone, rather, just a little indie game made as a study project.